The following is brought to you by the Starfleet Podcast Network, SPN, The Spin. There are a lot of times where you can get someone that is like a diamond in the rough, or they're not a professional actor, but they do very well. And then you also get the ones that it's like, wow, you're not an actor, and it shows.
Red alert.
Hey, this is Big J, and in just a moment, I'll be presenting you with Starship Exeter, the Tressaurian intersection. Afterwards, please join our Critical-not-Cynical review for our discussions and reactions to the film. Without further ado, here is Starship Exeter, the Tressaurian intersection.
On the bridge.
Any contact from the USS Congo or the starbase on Corinth?
Negative, Captain. There is no signal. Not even the base's automated communications beacon.
Keep checking. What's causing that?
Still unknown, sir. Richards?
We only know that the disruptions intensify as we approach the inner planets of the system. We're trying to chart them as Fanny Richards, sir.
She came aboard at the Ophiuchus colony. I've assigned her as your new personal assistant.
Captain? Debris field ahead. Parts of a Starship hull.
Not the Congo?
Negative. Not Starfleet alloys. Could be Hydron or Tressaurian. Whoever it was, they lost the battle. There's hope, Quince.
The Congo reported they were investigating unidentified alien vessels in the vicinity of Starbase 16.
I served on the Congo even longer than you did. Costnet's the last man who'd fall for an ambush. And he wouldn't take on an enemy force the Congo couldn't handle. Not when he knew we were on the way.
Unless he had no choice.
Sir, I have the planet on visual.
That can't be Corinth 4.
It is, sir. This is impossible. This planet's geologically stable. There's been no record of quakes or volcanic activity since it was first discovered. What we're seeing now is...
It's a nightmare. Life signs?
Indeterminate.
There are over 2,000 people assigned to Starbase 16, Commander.
The planet's magnetic field is in violent flux. We aren't able to get accurate surface readings, so there could be survivors. A surface party would be necessary to be certain.
Assemble a landing party and meet me in the transporter room. Mr. Cuddy, you have the bridge. Garivik to Exeter.
Exeter here.
Starbase 16 is completely destroyed. Has scanning section been able to cut through this interference yet?
Negative, Captain. Not around our starbase. But we are reading something to the north of your position.
We have to find a survivor who can tell us what happened. Space. Endless. Silent. Waiting. This is the new odyssey of the Starship Exeter. Her 5-year mission, to guard the Federation frontier, To patrol uncharted space and scout alien worlds. To brave the darkness of the last vast unknown. Stardate 5713.1, Captain's Log. Responding to a distress call from the Starship Congo, we found the ship's main hull and the starbase it was protecting destroyed by an unknown weapon of unimaginable power. There were no survivors on the planet. We are now searching for the Congo's star drive section in the hopes that someone aboard it has survived.
There's debris in orbit, but it's not large enough to be a Starship engineering hull.
Widen your scans to include the inner part of the star system. Who did this?
You're convinced this is an attack?
Starbase 16 was our only outpost in this sector. Half a dozen species lay claim to this whole area of space, and none of them are what I would call peace-loving. What are the odds that this was a coincidence?
Not a chance. I've run an analysis of the samples we brought back from the surface. It's as if everything down there was torn apart at the subatomic level and reassembled in an instant.
What could do that?
Nothing we've seen before. It's no natural phenomenon. No one could have survived it.
And the Congo?
The Congo's saucer was destroyed by conventional weapons, phaser or disruptor fire.
So they arrived too late to save the starbase. They went after the ship or ships that destroyed it.
Respectfully, sir, you're speculating.
Can you pinpoint the source of the disruptions?
Yes, sir.
Then feed those coordinates to the helm. That's where we'll find the Congo. Look at that. Life signs?
Not reading any, but the interference with our sensors is worse here.
I thought these things were getting weaker.
Except that we're right on top of the source. Captain, the spatial disruptions are coming from inside what's left of the Congo.
Inside? How is that possible? Mr. Bafuzalek, any response to our hails?
No, Captain, I am receiving no messages
Lieutenant.
from there.
Are you ill?
No, Captain. My antenna. I have what you would call, I think, headache.
I'm going over there. Mr. Bafuzalek, I'll need you to access the Congo's logs and data tapes, if you're up to it.
Of course, sir.
Have Chief Engineer Shelley and Dr. Azzato meet us in the transporter room.
Aye, sir.
Cuddy, you're with me.
All dead, Captain. Breeding no signs of life.
Do a manual sweep of the other decks. There may still be survivors.
They'll be just as dead in person.
Captain, there's no way this ship can move on its own power. It's barely holding together as it is. And there's no way we can tow another starship all the way back to Earth space.
We can't leave it out here, not while hostiles are in the area.
Rig the warp pod so that we can detonate the wreck from aboard the Exeter.
Aye, sir.
Captain, I'm reading power signs from down below. It's not Starfleet. Quince! Tressaurians.
Captain Cosnet. Damn it. In all our years aboard this ship, how many times did you think we were done for?
I don't know. Too many. Those locust things on Pollux, remember?
I remember. He always got us home. The Tressaurians will pay.
I don't believe it. This is the source of the gravitational disruptions, Captain.
What is it?
Zato to Garavik.
Garavik here.
Captain, the Andorian's having some kind of seizure.
Beam back immediately.
We'll follow. I've got another patient for you here.
Fuselik's still in sick bay. Sedated for now.
I'm running some tests, but I believe Mr. Bafuselik is being affected by the energy coming from that gadget we found on Congo.
That gadget doesn't look like something that could wipe out a planet.
There's no question that it did. Before Mr. Bafuselik's attack, he was able to retrieve many of Congo's recent logs. This is one of the last entries.
We fought off a second Tressaurian. They're determined to keep us away from the weapon that destroyed our starbase. Science Officer Morgan says it's using the system's plasma as an energy source, and it'll be days before its power level drops enough for us to get a safe transporter lock on it. We have got to get it retrieved and back to Starfleet.
Sorry, detectives, coming in back.
They had figured out a way to shut it down manually and were doing this when the Tressaurians attacked again.
What do we know about the Tressaurians?
Tressaurians are a bipedal reptilian species believed related to the Gorn.
That's good answer.
The most significant encounter to date was the so-called Tangaro incident, in which Tressaurians fired upon and disabled an unarmed Federation transport. Among the survivors was current commander of this vessel, then cadet, John Quincy Garavik.
Ensign Richards! I'm asking what we know about the disposition of Tressaurian forces in this sector.
Yes, sir.
Anyone?
There are more than a dozen planetary settlements. We know that at least some of their colonies are forward military bases, and we estimate their numbers in this sector to be about 20 million.
Ship deployments? Troop strength?
We just don't know much.
But we know they'll be back to retrieve their weapon. Can we risk bringing it aboard the Exeter?
The Tressaurians damaged Congo's hangar deck in their final attack. We'll have to beam it over. We can use the data from the Congo's microtape records to complete the shutdown.
Whoa! That thing still bites. I can swear to that.
You should be more careful where you put your hands. One person who knows what they're doing should be able to handle it.
And why should we do that? Let's just blow the thing to smithereens for Pete's sake. The galaxy would be better off for it.
Commander Harris, who do you recommend we send?
I recommend me, sir.
Very well. Helmsman, take us in as close as you can to the Congo.
Aye, sir.
Dismissed. Commander,
Captain?
I don't need a personal assistant.
All Starship class...
I don't want a personal assistant.
Ensign Richards...
It's a bright and I'm sure very capable young woman. She's certainly eager enough.
Ensign Richards is a command college candidate. A rotation as assistant to the ship's commander is a prerequisite to her career advancement. When you are captain, it's not always a question of what you want. Cheer up, Captain. If I screw up over there, you can take it up tomorrow with your next exec. I'm sure Commander Cutty will be far more tractable.
Joe, if you screw up, we may not see tomorrow.
Energize. To Exeter. I'm going to initiate shutdown of the device.
Acknowledged. Good luck. What in blazes? Commander Harris. Commander Harris, respond.
Sir, Congo's vanished.
Richards, reestablish contact with Commander Harris.
I'm trying, sir. I can't.
Tressaurian attack cruiser, heading 14 Mark III. Bearing down fast.
Go to red alert. Arm weapons. Shields at maximum. Phasers stand by. Can you raise Commander Harris?
No, sir.
This is the United Starship Exeter calling Tressaurian vessel. Please respond.
You are in violation of our space. Withdraw or be destroyed.
This sector is recognized as neutral territory under the terms of the Treaty of Axanar. We are currently investigating the destruction of one of our outposts.
Demons. Learn nothing on Tangaro.
Return fire.
Hit on their midsection.
Helm, evasive. Keep us within transporter range of the Congo's last position.
Harris to Exeter.
Captain, please respond. I have Commander Harris's signal.
Chief, do you have a lock?
Yes, sir, but the Tressaurians are trying to jam our signal.
Captain, the enemy's changed course. They're moving in on the Congo.
Oh, are they? Mr. Cuddy, prepare to detonate the Congo's engines. On my mark. Ready. now! Go.
Harris here, Captain. The weapon is secured. Except that it's not a weapon and I don't think it's Tressaurian.
Explain.
I can't just yet. I need to do some further readings to confirm my theory about what it is and what it's designed to do.
Understood. Helm, move off. Keep an eye out for Tressaurians. Defense, set long-range sensors to perimeter scan.
Aye, sir.
Supplementary Captain's Log. I've decided to remain in the area rather than return the captured device to Starfleet. Tressaurians are ruthless and aggressive, but attacking a starbase and destroying a starship indicates something much bigger at work here. What is this device, and what do they intend to use it for? Cuddy thinks my past with the Tressaurians has affected my judgment. I wish I could be sure he was wrong.
He wanted to know when the Andorian woke up.
Doctor! What happened?
I don't know. He recovered suddenly about 10 minutes ago.
And he's just fine now?
Well, he talks too much.
Thanks, Doc.
Captain, I must apologize for my earlier weakness. Andorians are able to sense magnetic and gravitational fields. It is one of the functions of our antennae.
I'm afraid I don't see the advantage.
The complex gravitational interaction of my home star and its dwarf companions creates great geologic instability.
Wait. Your people live underground?
Yes.
On a planet prone to violent earthquakes, you choose to live underground.
Yes, sir.
You're not the most logical folks in the galaxy, are you, mister?
No, sir.
If you sense any new gravitational abnormalities, alert me immediately, understood?
Of course, Captain.
Harris has a report on that thing. She wants to meet us in the transporter room.
Ah, Captain. When I approached this device to deactivate it, I crossed a dimensional threshold of some kind. I literally stepped into another universe.
That's when we lost contact.
Yes. This device generates a harmonic oscillation that resonates with the gravitational field of a nearby star or other massive space-time displacement.
Yeah.
Look, you throw a rock into a pond, you get nice round ripples. Throw in a second rock near it, and the two sets of ripples cross one another. At that intersection, the predictable pattern of the surface becomes chaotic. If you want the mathematics of it...
No, let's focus on the end result here.
The result is to shift a large area of space into another universe that coexists with our own on a higher dimensional plane.
And if something goes wrong?
We've seen what happened on Corinth.
And what makes you think that was an accident?
Captain, I doubt the Tressaurians understand this thing. They couldn't have invented it themselves. It would take us decades to figure out the physics required, and the Tressaurians aren't known for their dedication to pure science research. They stole this from someone and decided to test it at a safe distance from their own colonies.
Stole it from whom?
Gervik to bridge. Report.
Incoming, Captain. 3 Tressaurian warships.
Bring shields to full power. How about 182 Mark III? Ready torpedoes.
Aye, sir.
On my command. Fire!
Laser control reports overloads of circuit burnouts.
Auxiliary power to phasers.
Damage forward shields.
The Tressaurians have broken off their attack.
Captain, the Tressaurians are hailing us.
Ship to ship. Audio only.
You have been warned, yet you remain. State your business in our territory.
If they didn't want to talk before, why now?
Distraction.
Security team to transporter room. On the double.
This is the captain. Intruder alert. Regular personnel clear deck 6 and 7. I repeat, intruder alert.
You will leave our space immediately.
We'll leave when we've determined what happened to our starbase.
This is your final.
Go ahead.
Security here, Captain. One Tressaurian dead. We're holding another in the brig.
How long until they realize that they failed?
Damage control, deck 7 and 8.
Several unidentified vessels coming in at warp A, multiple vectors.
Captain John Quincy Garevic of the Federation Starship Exeter. Thank you for your assistance. The Tressaurians were...
The Tressaurians stole a valuable prototype device. Let their destruction serve as a warning. Leave this area immediately.
It is our understanding that under treaty, this sector is open to exploration and settlement.
Your treaty was with the old assembly. The new assembly does not tolerate insolence. Of the Tressaurians and our prototype, this matter is resolved. Thalia does not seek conflict with the Federation. We find your attempt at diplomacy before action interesting. Leave this area now.
Of course. Reverse course, out of this sector, warp 2. Aye, sir. Sorry you lost your prototype.
It served its purpose.
Harris, track those ships. I want to know where they go from here.
Captain?
He called it a prototype. Prototype of what? Track them from beyond the edge of their sensor range and feed the coordinates to the helm. I'll be in security. You have the bridge.
Yes, sir. Captain, we don't know much about the Tholians. I'm not sure what the sensor range of their ships is.
I have faith in your powers of scientific deduction, Commander. If you get us all blown up, I'll be very disappointed.
He's been the soul of cooperation, cold-blooded bastard. Took that off his dead partner. Engineering says that's some kind of homing beacon, I suppose, so they can get a lock on that prototype and beam it back to the ship.
Well, that's another thing that hasn't gone your way. The Tholians destroyed both your ships. Took them about 6 seconds.
We have the right to defend our territory.
By destroying a starbase and killing thousands of people?
Your starbase was unimportant. A necessary sacrifice. We protect what is ours.
By stealing from the Tholians?
They are the thieves. They plot to steal our space. We'll grind the bones of every Tholian in the quadrant to dust before we surrender a parsec. Captain Garevic. Yes, we all know the hero of Tangaro. You command the unwanted starship, filled with the ghosts of a dead crew. should have killed you at Tangaro and spared you the shame.
Charming. Do Tholians even have bones?
Bridge.
You've never talked about Tangaro.
You suppose there's a reason? It was my 4th year in the academy. My class was outward bound on a Starfleet transport. We were headed for survival training. The Tressaurians fired on us. We evacuated in lifeboats. Some of us made it to a planet that wasn't on the charts.
Tangaro.
I was the senior surviving cadet. I organized the settlement and reassured the civilian passengers that Starfleet would find us in a few days or weeks.
But you were stranded for
2 years. My uncle died on Tycho during that time. And Beth? She gave me up for dead. Married some guy in the merchant service.
We've tracked the Tholians to the red giant star system ahead. There's a lot of activity near the primary.
Can we get closer?
Not without them spotting us.
Long-range sensors then. Full magnification.
What in the name of God?
The same as the prototype, only millions of times more powerful. The Tholian device is consuming that entire star as an energy source. I estimate it has the power to shift this entire sector of space into another universe.
That's what the Tressaurian meant. By stealing space. Tholians think of us as a nuisance, always trespassing in their territory.
So they'll shift their territory right into another universe. That other dimension did seem just like the kind of place to suit them.
But we've seen what it does. We have to destroy it before it can be used.
Captain, even if our weapons will have an effect on the device, the prototype interfered with our sensors when we were within millions of kilometers of it. Imagine that effect multiplied thousands of times.
Keep probing with long-range sensors. Learn everything you can. Find me a way, Commander.
This is suicide. And for what? We have no other bases in this sector.
How many Tressaurians in this sector, Cuddy? You estimated 20 million.
And why do you care after what they've done?
I don't have time for this, Cuddy. Captain's personal log. Maybe my past with the Tressaurians is clouding me. Cuddy's question keeps ringing in my head. Why do I care? I hate the Tressaurians. I hate what they did to Cosnet. I hate what they did to me. On Tangaro, I knew what I had to do. But now...
Fought off a second Tressaurian. They're determined to keep us away from the weapon that destroyed our starbase.
Now Cosnet was dead. One of the fleet's best captains, gone. And for what?
Section reports that their weapon forces matter to collapse in. But one way or the other, we have got to get retrieved back to Starfleet.
There it is. I have the device. My duty is to save my ship and report back to Starfleet. I could turn my back on the Tressaurians, let them all die. No one would question it. They'd probably pin another medal on me. But I'd never be free of it. More guilt, more anger, and more dead won't bring back those people who died on Tangaro. I won't let the Tressaurians do that to me again. I have to stop the Tholians. Somehow.
Chili and black coffee, sir. Excuse me, sir, but Captain Cosnet was a hero to you.
Of course.
He died protecting the Federation. That was his duty. But you're willing to risk everything to defend an enemy against a greater evil. That is above and beyond.
When did you graduate the academy?
18 months ago, sir.
That explains your romantic notions about the Star Service.
Romantic?
Captain Costnet warned me once. Heroic fantasies are for people who live behind safe borders. Out here, on the frontier, they'll get you killed. He was right. I learned it the hard way.
On Tangara?
Yes. Your recitation earlier made us all sound like heroes.
You were a hero, sir. You took command on Tangaro.
I did what was necessary on Tangaro. I don't look back at it. If you second guess yourself in a crisis, you lose command. Start to collapse in on yourself. That's it.
Forces matter to collapse in. Collapse in. Collapse in.
Collapse in. This is the captain. All decks, condition alert. All decks, condition alert. Commander Harris.
Harris here.
I'm on my way to the bridge. I've got it. We're going to destroy that thing out there. You said the Tholian machine and the prototype both work by amplifying and distorting local gravitational fields.
An oversimplification, sir, but essentially correct.
What would happen if we activated the prototype and beamed it directly into the heart of that thing out there?
Interesting. The harmonic interference would probably create a gravitational vortex. It certainly would destroy both devices.
Certainly destroy. Sounds promising.
There are two problems. First, the proximity of the red giant. All the mass out there potentially could be sucked into the vortex, creating a black hole singularity.
A calculated risk. Second problem?
Getting within transporter range. Our navigational sensors will be useless within millions of kilometers of the device.
We don't need sensors. All we need is a compass.
My first assignment was helm control. I could pilot us in. I can sense our approach to the power source.
You mean the closer we are, the more excruciating the pain?
Precisely.
It could kill you.
Stations, everyone. Profuzilek?
Aye, sir.
There are at least a dozen Tholian ships swarming around that thing out there. We have to distract them. I have an idea. Go ahead.
Shuttlecraft Archimedes, rigged and ready.
Clear hangar deck. Depressurizing. All systems clear for shuttlecraft launch. Shuttle launch sequence complete.
All right, let's start our run before they figure it out.
Captain, contact with the Tholian gravity wave in 4, 3, 2, 1. protect us.
We need that diversion now. Cuddy.
Cuddy here. Shuttlecraft is on course. Ready here, Quince.
Commander?
Yes, sir.
We're moving off to investigate, all but 2.
They went for it! Thought the beacon was a Tressaurian intruder. And it looks like their Tressaurians are tracking their own homing beacon too.
It's a K-class warship. They brought in the big one.
Now's our chance, Lieutenant. Full ahead. Transporter room. Device activation and beam out in 4 minutes. Mark.
Aye, sir.
One of the remaining ships is hailing us.
On screen.
You have violated protected space. Leave immediately.
Regret we cannot comply. I suggest you pursue a diplomatic remedy, Commander.
We will destroy your ship if you do not.
File a complaint with the Federation Council.
Insolence will not be tolerated.
Defense status.
Hit on starboard warp pod.
We return fire.
Negative. Too much sensor interference. That's it! External sensors are down. We're flying blind.
I believe I resent that, Commander.
Steady as she goes.
The shields can't take much more there!
Carry it to transporter room. Chief!
Captain, I have transporter training. moving!
Lieutenant! Get us out of here!
Lieutenant! All engines, full reverse!
Systems are returning ship-wide. We have internal communications.
Stand down from red alert. Call Dr. Izato to the bridge.
Bridge to sick bay. Izato to the bridge. Captain, Tressaurian warship approaching.
The Tressaurian ship has lowered its shield, sir.
Considering that in our current situation they probably could have blown us to Kingdom Come, I'd take that as a show of gratitude. I think you've just scored a diplomatic victory, Captain.
I'll sleep better knowing that. Hell, get us out of Tholian, Tressaurian, whose ever space we're in. Mr. Cuddy, damage report? Casualties?
3 thus far, but Quince. We lost the entire section around the transporter room. No one could have survived.
Dear Mr. and Mrs. Richards, I don't know when my letter will reach you. There's subspace time lag. And I'm sure Vandy has told you how unreliable mail relay is here on the frontier. I know Starfleet will have informed you of your daughter's sacrifice. I know, too, that my words can bring you little comfort in your grief. The only consolation I can offer is that her shipmates knew her as a fine officer, outstanding in the performance of her duties aboard the Exeter. But military tradition reserves our highest honors for those who sacrifice themselves above and beyond the call of duty. This Vandy did.
Her actions saved this ship, this crew, and countless innocent lives. Her actions serve to remind us of why we wear the uniform and of the sacrifices we must all be prepared to make in the course of our duties.
Welcome back, folks. I hope you enjoyed Starship Exeter, the Tressaurian intersection. And when I started watching that, it immediately was familiar because I had seen this one way back when it first came out on YouTube. So I thought, oh, wait a minute, this is one of the classics. This is one of the OG fan films, and it had been so long. See, it was filmed, and it was released in 2004, wasn't it? Because that's when it in the YouTube video it said it was filmed in 2004, released in 2014. But I know I saw this mid 2000s.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not sure on those dates. When I first watched it, it was when I was first hired on for Starship Valiant as the chief engineer Menard, and Michael King had said, "Hey, watch this film," because I told him, I said, I'm not really into Star Trek, classic Trek, and he said, well, watch this. This is what fan films are all about. Problem, I'll watch it. Any research, it's fine. Because I just considered any Trek at that point, classic wise, good for the Menard character, because that's the era that he was in. And I watched it, and I was like, wow, if this is the caliber of Trek films we're going to be doing, like this, we have a lot to live up to. And that was around 2013, and he had said it had been around for a while then. And so I assume it was probably mid 2000s when it was shot and made. But the thing that I love about this film, because I kind of picked Michael's brain on the how-tos of this film, a lot of their hallway work was miniatures. It wasn't made with sets like what we have.
Was it really?
Now, yeah. Yeah, if you look at it, it's and that's like the compositing shot. Like that's why it probably took so long for it to be released for their stuff. Like they didn't have access to what we have access to. Like if we need to shoot something, we can either green screen it, or we can go down to Georgia or Arkansas or wherever the hell we want to go and just go walk down a corridor and hold the camera and we're good to go. They didn't do that, or not as much. They had very smaller sets, and what they didn't have, they had to fake it. And there was very smart filmmaking. So going into watching this film, like I didn't know until after I had watched it, and then I went back and watched it again because I'm like, let me see if I can see where that shit is done. And I have to say, one of the most, and it stuck with me all throughout the years, that shot of the saucer section on the planet, the Congo.
Yeah, that was a great shot.
Holy shit. Now, technically, now I know how they did it with, shoot the people on green screen, that, and then, have the thing in the background, the matte painting, the CGI model, put that all, and it's just maybe 3 or 4 different shots put together, and boom, there you go.
Right.
But knowing how it's done doesn't take away from the fact of how beautiful the shot is. And
it was.
Wow. Even now, it holds up. Wow. And especially for the time where they're figuring out how to do that type of stuff.
Because you didn't see a whole lot, and even now you really don't see a ton of shots like that really, when you're speaking technically, there are a lot of very good shots that we pull off in fan films, but there are some where you look at it and say, okay, well, were they in front of some large green screen? Was it, what was done in the compositing to make it look like you're outside looking at a crash saucer section of a ship?
Yeah.
That can be just as complicated as any other CGI shot.
Yeah. And the one thing about this film that I loved was around the same time you had your Star Trek Continues, your Star Trek Phase 2, and as I've said before, I never gave them a real chance because I never was impressed with, okay, here's a guy playing dress up as Captain Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a guy dressing up playing Mr. Spock. So instantly I turned it off because I thought, I've seen that on Saturday Night Live or in Living Color. I don't give a shit about that.
Right. Mad TV, SNL, and Living Color, they all do it.
Yeah. And that's not to take away from those that do enjoy that. Everyone's entitled to like what they like. But for me, if I'm going to watch something, I don't want to watch a poor recreation.
Mm-hmm.
What I don't consider a poor recreation of Star Trek, the universe, not the brand, is something like this, which is a different crew, a different ship. And this had the vibe of Star Trek, the feel of Star Trek, without mimicking the classic TOS crew, Kirk, Spock, McCoy. Each character felt unique. The Andorian character was wonderfully portrayed. The kind of smarmy first officer, talking shit to the captain.
Mm-hmm.
The captain who's kind of going through his own struggle. Like each character felt real. And coming to find out, this was the second film in this series. There was another one that was not shot anywhere near as nice, and it kind of has this kind of claymation monster. It's very compared to this, it's very corny. But I love it still because it's like I love all fan films that kind of give it a try. It's it's got a good story, but the effects are kind of tongue in cheek. In fact, I kind of want to take that claymation type monster and go, let's do something with that. It's cool as shit. Because it's like, fuck it, they did it, and at a time where nobody was doing something like that, it's like, why not, but it's kind of like being attacked on a planet by Frosty the Snowman, like, fuck it, stab him with the carrot,
I thought that there was another, because I'm gonna have to pull that one up and watch that one again at some point.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's not as good, in my opinion. It's shorter. I think it's about 20 minutes if memory serves. And it's more of a landing party type adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, you work with what you have. I think for this one, they stepped out more and expanded their horizons. And I mean, they swung for the fences and they went for it. They got a home run. There's not many flaws with this film. I think this is probably one of the perfect fan films. It's a 10 out of 10 for me because the acting, I would say, would probably be the only thing that you could take away from, but that's holding them to Hollywood standards,
right?
And I don't think it's fair to hold fan films to Hollywood standards because
you can't.
No. But if you were to hold them to those standards, I would say they did probably a 7, 8.
Yeah.
The only one that didn't kind of sell me was maybe the Doctor when he kind of tells a joke like, "Oh, he talks a lot," and as he's walking off, it's like, you didn't sell me on that. But that's not a slight on everyone else who did a phenomenal job.
Right.
I loved the relationship between the engineer and the captain. I really loved that. It reminded me of Trip and Archer. I really like that relationship. I don't know. Like all of these people felt like realistic Starfleet personnel,
And it's interesting that you bring that up in regards to the acting. And we have seen a wide range of fan films. And before the day even starts, we have to realize that these are fan films. They may not have or have access to anyone who is could say that acting is their profession. Yep. Whether it's someone that we know and have seen on screen, or somebody that is quote unquote an actor, but they like haven't been in anything. And there are a lot of times where you can get someone that is like a diamond in the rough. They're not a professional actor, but they do very well. And then you also get the ones that it's like, wow, you're not an actor, and it shows. But that's the thing is we have to recognize that going in, is that these are fan productions, and being able to get a hold of someone who's an experienced actor may not always happen. But in regards to that, I thought that the acting was fine.
Well, going into, I can say, having made a lot of films, sometimes you take what you can get when you show up on set, and either you have people who haven't made, sometimes people will call in last minute, not make the trip, and you're like, shit, I don't have anyone to fill the spot of, say, the science station, for example. And you're like, shit, okay, well, we'll take background extra number, whatever, put him in science. And hey, we'll read you your lines, so don't worry about it. Maybe that's a reason why, when the general audience sees the performance of the science officer, they're like, oh, that guy didn't give a good performance. Well, but there's a lot of things you didn't know about the day of the shoot. We can't necessarily go and recast because you have 10 or 12 other people. Hey, Noah.
Hi, Noah.
Hey, say hi, Noah. Hi. Wouldn't be a critical, not cynical, if it wasn't for Noah. Huh?
That's right.
But it's one of the things where it's like, that's what people need to remember. Also, that's why I say, like, if you show up on set, you'll get something to do. Because you never know, like you may show up thinking, I'm just going to be in the background putting on a uniform, and 2 people may not show up, and you're like, fuck, now I got speaking lines. All right, I'll go do it. You never know. That's why I say, go show up to every set you can, be an extra pair of hands. You might be someone who's going to be doing the clipboard, and now all of a sudden you're executive officer on a Starship, because they didn't show up. That's what happened with the lady who played Emily in the Menard films. She was just a background extra, and the lady who was supposed to be Menard's wife in the story canceled 3 days before the shoot. And I'm like, shit, the whole reason I'm going to the film is because she was supposed to be in 2 of the films. And great, now I don't have that. Well, this background extra showed up, and I was like, hey, Yava, do you want to be, lady I've never met before, do you want to be my wife? She's like, what? And then come to find out, she not only played, Emily, she played Mikkel in the other films. So, she had 2 Starfleet careers, and she was only going to be a background extra. So it's one of those things where when you're going into these films, you have to look at the performance and not be too harsh on them, because you don't know their circumstances of why did they get the role.
Right.
That's why, like, I look at these and I look at everything and I go, overall, everybody's performance was great. I believed in the story that they were telling, the world that they were trying to create, and I thoroughly enjoyed it,
It was, yes, I did too. And in regards to the story, I thought it was a very well put together story. That's one of the things that I think whenever you're doing these productions, you've got to have a strong story, because you don't have you may not have access to the sets and special effects to help carry that along. So it's very story driven, and especially for one this long, because this was back when it was a little more common to see fan films that were of the 40 to 50 minute or so range. Because I guess when you're on those sets, you want to be there as long as you can, get as much as possible. You're not going to take all the time to go to a set to film a 6-minute fan film. You want to take advantage of it. And to me, I thought that the story was a well put together one, in my opinion. I'm glad that we got to see a new race. I'm just digging back my brain. I don't think that the Tressaurians were ever mentioned in any other Trek. I believe this was a new race.
It was like what I love about this, and this goes from using what you have.
Mm-hmm.
I love the fact that it was it was a repainted Gorn head.
Yes.
with like horns up here.
Yep.
But like it's an option. It's like the Romulans to the Vulcans.
Yep.
But they're a different race, and it's something where you look at that and they don't ever mention they're an offshoot of the Gorn. Like they just talk about this race like they're always there, and I love that because you would never mention, like very seldom do you mention that the Romulans and Vulcans are a subspecies of each other. You know, they're an offshoot, and I love that because you look at it, like the first time I watched it, I was like, that's a fucking Gorn head. What are you doing? Like, but the second time, I'm like, no, you know what? Now having watched it, I buy this, and watching it, having watched it again now years later for this, like I now see that race as, no, this is its own independent race. Like I've now gotten past the fact they had to reuse a head, you know, and I'm like, man, that's so crafty, you know. I mean, because those Gorn heads could be pretty expensive on their own, because I think mine costs like I think $90.
Yeah, that's not cheap.
No, and I've seen some of them go for like $300 or $400. Yeah, dude, they are. Now I love chasing Royce to the house with the Gorn head because I'll put my, you know, and he loves it, you know. But you know, I got mine. At first, I thought, man, did somebody pee in the Gorn head, and that's why I'm getting it so cheap? Like, what? Why am I getting it cheap? You know. But you know, I got mine cheap for some reason. And thankfully I was able to get a deal on it. But yeah, I've seen them very expensive. So the fact that they took the time to repaint this and make it look not cheap, you know, because there's a lot of blending in that head to make this work.
Yeah.
You know, and so I buy that because again, you know, they're not trying to sell us a cheap knockoff Gorn. They're trying to sell us, hey, this is an offshoot. This is a different race, and let's take it as it is. You know, these are a species that the captain has had. You know, it's like Cisco and the Cardassians, was it Cisco and the Cardassians? No, Cisco and the who was the Cisco fought back in the day who had kind of a problem with?
You're talking on DS9.
Yeah,
Cisco. I mean, he got in, hand-to-hand combat with Jim Hadar and with Klingons.
It'd be like O'Brien and the Cardassians because he had a grudge against.
Yeah, so, O'Brien had a grudge against the Cardassians.
Yeah. So it'd be like O'Brien and the Cardassians. You know, it's just something from his past. You know, so he's looking at these aliens in the same way. And so, you know, it's just I really enjoyed the world that they built. It wasn't, hey, we got to fight the Klingons, or hey, we got to fight the Romulans, or hey, we got to fight this species that we've used a dozen times over. Like they really crafted their own story that had nothing to do with James Kirk, had nothing to do with the Enterprise, had nothing to do with rubbing elbows with the greatest ship of all time that everyone else seems to lump themselves in with.
Right.
This was a great ship on its own. It was doing its own thing. Had its own history, had its own group of characters, and I dug it, you know, because at the time, getting into fan films and us trying to do the same thing with Starship Valiant, I loved that because I'm like, this is what we want to do. Awesome, let's do this. So I think these guys were more creative than Star Trek Continues and more creative than Star Trek Phase 2 because they were doing something that, in my opinion, it takes a lot more ingenuity to do this.
It does.
It's something a lot more different.
It does, because I think it's very easy to want to have any kind of fan film or production or something tie into what's easy, to tie into the Enterprise and Kirk, et cetera, et cetera. It's like this big, comfortable security blanket that you don't want to get too far outside of, because you might think, well, who's going to care? Who cares about the Exeter? Who cares about this Captain Garavik or any of these other people that we've never heard of before? And that's fine, because it gives you the ability to do your own story and to do something that's original. And I think that's where it lies, is being able to do something original. And that's what they did, which they used that to their advantage.
Well, and it was a lot harder back then because, you know, now it's not as hard because, again, we have green screen, which we can easily do. We have hell, Zoom backgrounds we can do. We have, it's much easier for our phones, with technology. We can edit hell on our phones, which I don't know how to do that. I'm like, man, you guys are fucking more genius than I am. But it's much easier to get GoFundMe with hey, we're going to do a fan film with Jim, Captain Jimbo to do this or whoever, and a lot of people be like, oh, Star Trek fan film, okay, I'll do that, because we got Doctor Who fan films, we got Batman fan films, we got Star Wars fan films, we got you throw a rock, you'll hit a fan film on something.
Yeah.
Whereas back then, in the early days of YouTube, when it was just starting out, nobody wanted to do that. So you had to kind of go on name recognition. Hey, I'm going to do a Star Trek fan film with Kirk and Spock.
Yeah.
Well, to do it, hey, I'm going to do a Star Trek fan film about a crew you've never heard of. Well, I don't want to do nothing.
Right. Like, why do I care?
Yeah. And now it's easier to do it because we have so much. Whereas back then it was more of a risk. It was more of a gamble. And again, to me, man, I support that. That is that's more of a risk. And like Pork says, the bigger the risk, the better
something greater the risk, greater the profit.
That's it. See, this is why we're friends. You're smarter than I am.
We complement each other pretty well.
There you go. But no, I'm glad you like this film. It really, to me, it's one of those things where every time somebody wants to know about good fan films, this is always in my top 5. Watch this film, because it is. There's never a time I watch this and I'm like, this is padding for the film. I watch it and I'm always entertained. There's no fluff. There's no time at this film where I'm like,
right, checking your, let's hurry it up. What time is it?
Yeah. Every time I'm like, man, I got to go take a piss break, man. Fuck, I'm gonna take the phone with me. I just, I love the film. It's a great film, and I would recommend this to anyone that wants to see how to make a fan film. This is how you do it. And the thing that I find really sad is that they only had those 2,
right.
And one of them, although it's good on one level, it's not this level. And this is the level that I hold a lot of fan films to, just because of their ingenuity on so many levels. Like this is the standard for where I hold fan films to, so.
Well, wouldn't that be great if they came back with today's technology and did another Starship Exeter?
Well, I know Michael King had chatted with the captain of the ship and had kind of seen where he kind of stood on, hey, would you like maybe a guest spot in one of our films? And so there was talk a few years ago. This was before the move from Oklahoma to Arkansas, but nothing really became of that. So I don't think there was much interest in revisiting. And again, which I found a little bit sad, but I would say never say never. Because fuck, man, it's Star Trek, baby. If they can bring Jim Kirk back,
if they want to they'll find a way to bring you back.
Yeah,
there's always a way.
So I hope, man, if they can, if we can bring if anyone from the Starship Exeter is listening, hell, man, the Comstar wants to bring you back. The Harrison wants to bring you back. Anybody we all want it. We love you guys.
We want to bring you.
We'll rescue you.
We want to bring you back.
Hell yeah.
Well, that is awesome, Vance. I think you said it all there. It was a great episode for anyone out there who has not seen Starship Exeter, the Tressaurian intersection. Please check it out. It's a very good film, and hopefully at some point we'll see that crew again. Those were all the closing thoughts that I had.
You too.
Awesome. All right. Well, everyone, thank you for sitting with us and joining us on Critical-not-Cynical. Live long and prosper. If you enjoyed this podcast, you can support us at patreon.com/BeyondTrek.
We are Beyond Trek Podcast. Lower your inhibitions and surrender your ears. We will add inspirational and hilarious Trek content to your day. Your attention will adapt to subscribe to us. Resistance is futile.